yeah. You don't know about it, racing like we got, man. You don't know about it, you ain't never seen it like this. I'm for sure about it, and if we're talking dirt racing, no, I'm gonna preach about it.
Hello, everybody. This is D Ham with Dirt Behind the Scenes, back with another awesome episode. And tonight, I am joined by a one-of-a-kind legend, Kenny Johnson. Kenny, how are you doing, my man?
Doing good, Derek. Thank you.
So, we're getting ready to head into your 40th year behind the wheel of a race car. How are you feeling?
Old. That's pretty obvious. I'm feeling old. I had
I like that you did your hair for tonight.
yeah, I worked on it for 5-10 minutes. Yep. Yeah, I was down at the valley practicing here a week or so ago, and I'm sitting in the car, and this guy walks up, and I don't know, that guy appears to be maybe in his 30s or so. I'm not sure how old he was, but he walks up to my car as I'm sitting in it. He says, Are you Kenny Johnson? I said, yeah. He said, are you the same Kenny Johnson that raced Tyler County 20 years ago? I said, yeah. He said, man, I used to go with my dad and watch you race. He said, I love, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. When you was a kid, it just dawned on me, I'm getting freaking old is what's happening. So, but no, I'm pretty excited. It's the little thing I'm doing on Facebook there, writing about, every year I've raced for the next so many weeks. Every week I'm posting about a new year. I'm enjoying reminiscing about that and thinking about those years and the stories that come out of it. And that part's being a lot of fun right now and getting a lot of feedback, a lot of people commenting about it and different things. So I'm enjoying doing that. But as far as my 40th year, I'm looking really forward to this year. Driving for Rob Webb Motorsports, and he does everything he can for me and puts me in a good position. I just need to, this will be the year I need to step up and do something for him and get a bunch of wins. So that's my hope.
Your first season was 85, correct?
Yeah, 1985 was the first year I got to race. I got that car for my 16th birthday. Mom and Dad asked me, did I want a street car or did I want a race car? And I thought in the back of my mind, well, shoot, if I want to get somewhere, I can just take Mom's car or Dad's truck and go somewhere. But a race car, I can't have. So I chose the race car, and that's what they got me. And then I totaled two of my mom's cars in the next 6 months apart when I turned 16. So they kind of was regretting getting me a race car instead of my own car, but it was all good. Yeah, 16's when I got my first car.
And it has been downhill since then. Correct.
It's been good times. It's been a great sport to grow up in. I've loved every minute of it. We've had some bad times and good times, but the good times always outweigh the bad.
Now, where would your first race been?
High Valley Speedway. My first race was actually in 1983, and I drove one of Dad's semi-lates. It was a night that Dad felt like the car wasn't right for him, and he just opted to put me in it. So I did make laps. I run a feature at Skyline Speedway. I was dead last, got lapped numerous times, but at 13, I got to get in a car and go around the racetrack. So that was pretty exciting. But first race of my own car was High Valley Speedway.
Let's talk about that first season, your first full season in 1985. How'd the season go for you?
The season was, it was interesting because I had an old car. It was kind of, it was a good car back in the day, but it was old car, so it really wasn't competitive in that manner. But I was out there making laps. It was an old heavy car. It weighed 3,175 pounds. So it was a tank. You couldn't destroy it, which was good. That's kind of what Dad wanted. He wanted me. He knew I was going to wreck and get tore up and do different things, but we kept ticking. I did bend a rear end in it, a 3/4 ton rear end, which all of the years Dad raced, he never bent a rear end like that because that's an old heavy rear end, truck rear end is what it was. But we got it back together and kept racing. So it was one of those things that it definitely, it's a legal drug. It got me hooked, and I was ready to go. So, and Dad had me going to races, when he raced and even before he raced. So I've kind of grown up with it ever since I was, Mom said she was going to the track with Dad before I was even born. So it's a legal drug for me.
If I'm correct, your first win didn't come until 1993, right?
That's right. Yep, exactly right. So I stayed at it from 85 to 93, and we had, that was the year I bought a new Swartz late model, first year in a Swartz car. And I think it was around the end of May. We was racing down the High Valley Speedway. Stevie Lucas was there. Sonny Fisher was there. Stevie spun out in turn two, went to the tail, and then it was left to me and Sonny. Sonny was leading. I was running second. And I kept working on Sonny, and I finally passed him. And then here comes Stevie Lucas up from the tail. And I don't know if Stevie got Sonny or not, but I do remember I won, of course. So I do remember that part. But that's a win you'll never forget. Anybody at races, they never forget their first win. So that one was pretty special to me. And I was able to back it up a few weeks later down at Fair Plains. We went down to Jackson County Speedway down there, and we did get another win that year. So it wasn't just a fluke. And they always said the first one's the hardest one. So we got that first one out of the way, and we picked up another one about a few weeks later down at Jackson County.
How long were you in the late model ranks?
So I ran what they called semi-late / hobby stock from 85 to 1989. And then I ran late model from 1990 all the way through 98. And 98's when I guess they'd call it I quit. I sold out. It was a timing when Dad's health was in a position. Financially, things were just not where they needed to be. And I thought, I'm just going to quit and sell out. So I did, with the exception of my engine. And I held on to my engine in hopes of getting a ride with somebody. The engine part never come to fruition for anybody. But Junior Simmons, Cherokee Village, number 16, I grew up with his son, Jimmy Simmons, went to kindergarten through school with him. And I'd driven Junior's car previous years as well on off nights that I wasn't racing. But Junior put me in his car in 99, and we raced that whole season, traveled around, went to Wayne County, Lakeville, the Valley. We got some wins in it. And then also that year, I drove Tommy Powell's modified off and on. And so that's where it all went from late models to modified. So 2000, I picked up modified racing full time and drove juniors a couple times in 2000, but basically drove for Tommy full time.
To backtrack a little bit, just a little bit, I want to talk about you winning that big race at Tyler County back in 97 to etch your name in the history books with some very legendary race car drivers, just like yourself. What did that feel like? That had to feel great to be able to get a win like that.
There's no doubt. It felt awesome at that time because I've done a lot of racing, but I never was a big wig kind of say, or a hot shoe. I'm just a local guy. And to be able to win a legendary race like that, Tyler County, that's a lot of history there. I will say this, that particular year, the payoff had been reduced. It only paid $2,500 to win. So it's just my luck. I win a big show like that, and it's $2,500 win instead of $5,000 or whatever it was paying before that. But regardless, we started 8th in that race, and I was known to run the high side up there. Back in my late model days, my rear quarter panel was always shaped like a guardrail. It had this little wave to it all the time, every weekend up there. And that's just because I ran the high side so much. But that night there, I passed Gary Dalton on the high side with like 4 laps to go and went on to get that win. So it was pretty exciting. Butch McGill's wife was videoing that night, and she was watching Butch, which Butch was not running up, not winning for the lead or anything. But I did get a glimpse of me making the pass and getting to see that. So that's a little bit of history I get to keep with me. And like you said, my name's etched in that book. And a lot of the people that go to racing today don't even realize I ran late model back in the day, just because for the past 24 years I've been in a modified. Yeah, so it was good times, good race to win, and very exciting.
You said 2000 marks your transition into running full time in a modified, and I know you drove for Tommy Powell there for a while. When did that partnership come to fruition?
So in 99, like I said, I quit my deal in 98. So 99 comes around and I don't have a ride. And it works out Gene Casto. He was going to have me drive his car at Skyline Speedway opening night. And I show up to a racetrack with my duffel bag. I'm a professional driver. I got my duffel bag, my helmet, my shoes, everything. And of course, back in those days, there wasn't a lot of cell phones and stuff like that. But I'm there at the track, and all of a sudden, Gene Casto's not showing up. And what happened was, where they crossed over the bridge at Ravenswood, there was a road construction or something had it shut down, and Gene couldn't get to Skyline. And I'm standing there, and Tommy Powell happens to have his car at the track, And Mike McDaniels, who's racing his late model, he takes out and hot laps it because there's carburetor issues. And Tommy, I guess, was timid at the time and just saying, so he's asking me to get in it. Well, I'm in shorts and a sandal and a t-shirt, and the cars are in the chute to line up to qualify. And he's asked me to get in and qualify. And I said, Tommy, just get in it and qualify. You'll do fine. He said, no, just get in it for me. So Mike had fixed the carburetor, and I threw a uniform top on. Wasn't even my top. I threw on a top. I was out there in shorts and sandals, and I got there and set second fast time in his modified. And we go on a race that night, and Chris Stotts was leading the race, and I was running second. And I was able, and the groove was on the bottom at Skyline at that time. I don't know if you can believe that or not, but it's around the bottom. But I'm making a pass on Chris around the outside of turn 1 and 2, and I go in just a little too heavy, and the car spins on me, and I spun out and had to go to the tail. And I worked my way back up to fourth or fifth, somewhere around there. But I was going for the win, and I come in after the race, and I was just bummed. Tommy is smiling ear to ear. I mean, he loved every minute of it, but I was bummed and mad because I spun out. I cost him a second place finish, but he didn't care. He loved it. And he asked me to drive it some more that year, along with Junior Simmons driving his car, and I was pulling double duty some nights. But Tommy sold that car and then basically was working it out and asked if I'd drive the new car that Throwing Dirt was building for him. And Shirley Paul Keffer at the time had an engine, so we kind of joined forces there. Tommy had the car, Shirley had the engine, and we took off from there and won out of 49 races, we won 24 of them that year in 2000. So that kind of set the tone that we were there, and we fell in love with modifieds, and I still love late models, but modifieds just seem to fit me better, and that's where we're at.
Speaking of wins, we've talked before, and you got it at what 211 feature wins, which that is just, I don't know. It's hard for me to fathom somebody winning. There's some people that go their whole career, that race for years and years, and they're lucky to win 20, 30 races, over the entirety of their career. And the fact that you have been able to win 211 races, I just like, out of all those races, I'm sure this is a hard question for you to answer, but is there any particular race besides the first one? Obviously, that first win, that's a special one, but is there any race other than the first one that really stands out in your mind that, like, yep, that's the one, that's your favorite win that you've ever pulled off, during the 40 years that you've been racing?
I'll have to say two. I've got two.
Okay.
The first one is in 2000, and again, we'd been winning races around the area and stuff in 2000, getting quite a few wins, and we're going to Zanesville, what's called the Balderson Dodge 40. It was a 40 lap race up there. It was our first time at Muskingum with the modified. I'd been up there in a late model in '93, but we was up there in a modified first time there. They had, I don't know, 40 or 50 cars there at this race. And it was 2,500 to win. Of course, back in those days for modifieds, that was a lot of money. We go out and we set 6 fastest time. They had 6 heat races. I started the pole the 6th heat and was leading the heat. And before we took the white flag, coming off turn 3 and 4, before we took the white flag, left rear tire comes off the bead and goes flat. And I make it a whole lap and a half, and I finished third on that left rear flat. That's how big a lead we had in that heat race. So finishing third in the 6th heat. That started me 18th in the feature, and we come from 18th to win that feature. And it was a pretty neat deal to do that, coming from 18th with the competition that was there and everything. And there was some attrition. Don't get me wrong, I didn't pass 18 cars or 17 cars because there was some attrition, but we did come from 18th to win that feature. The second one that stands in my mind, and I'll never forget the rest of my life, was 2017. We was in a gunslinger car. Jason Brookover was selling. We was in a gunslinger for our first year. Had a Mullins engine in. We're at Skyline Speedway for the Greg Schilling Memorial. The track was not typical Skyline. It was, the term I used in my after race interview was balls to the walls. It was balls to the walls all night long, and we got the win for the Greg Schilling Memorial. And that meant something really, really special to me, and I'll cherish it forever. And I got the trophy and hugged Mr. Schilling after the race, and and shed a lot of tears, to be honest, after the race. But that's one I'll never forget.
To the people out there that probably, they might not be familiar with the Greg Schilling Memorial, in our local area, that is like, that, to me, that's a race I always look forward to every year. Like every single year, you just knew you were going to see some of the best competition. And I mean, you know it just as well as I know it. We've seen modifieds roll in from all over the place just
Yeah.
to take part in the Greg Schilling. Obviously, I didn't know him personally, but everything that I've heard about Greg, he was just a phenomenal human being. He's a good race car driver. And, it's, I just think it's really special that race has continued to be a staple in the Mid Ohio Valley region.
It's
I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's the Schilling family. I mean, Greg's definitely the reason for the race, but the Schilling family, the whole family in general, is awesome. And I don't think people understand what the Schilling family has done with the foundation, the Greg Schilling Memorial Foundation. The money they've handed out over the years to people in need, the scholarships they provide, it's a pretty awesome deal. So, with that being said, I'll take this opportunity to provide a plug. It is back to Skyline Speedway this year. It's coming up June 14th, I believe it is. It's actually a back-to-back show. June 14th will be the Schilling race. The next night will be I think, 1,000-win race Jeff's going to have there. So it makes it worthwhile for people traveling to come in and hit both nights. I've been talking to some people. I got to go to Florida this year and spectate. Stayed with my buddy Alan and Marcia down there, and I went to Volusia and I picked up some guys, talked to some guys that I raced with way back in the day that are living in Indiana and places that used to come to this race. And so I'm trying to get more people to come to it. Like you said, when it first started, there was 50 and 60 cars for the first 2 or 3 years coming to this race. We've dwindled down, and some nights we've had 18, sometimes we've had 30. But I'd like to see it get back up to 30 plus cars is what I'd like to do. And the money it raises is, like I say, it benefits a lot of people in our area, and it's a good cause.
When people hear the word Skyline, people probably my age and that grew up around our region, they usually they equate Skyline to just slow, kind of boring lockdown around the bottom. And I just want to use this opportunity to say that I personally have not been able to make it in yet to witness firsthand the difference that Jeff Burdett and that whole staff has made over there. But from the videos I've seen, they have done a phenomenal job of turning Skyline around. Not even just the surface, the whole facility. It looks like a world's difference than what I remember growing up.
Yeah. So, like you said, you was young. I was young once, and back in those days, Daryl Willie, that was his deal. There was rumors that he'd put stuff in the water, and I mean, I've seen it so black and shiny there. It's not rubber black; it's shiny black that you could see the reflection of a race car in the racetrack. It was that shiny and that slick and slow. But and not saying Jeff hasn't had a slick and slow night before, but it's not on purpose. He works hard, and there's most of the time it's been a multi-groove racetrack. It's not just follow the leader around the bottom. I've been over there several times and run the top and been able to pass and make positions and that kind of thing. So it's definitely not the slick and slow that it once was years ago. And Jeff don't want it slick and slow. He don't mind it being slick. He don't mind it being slow. He wants to make a race out of it, so it needs to be multi-groove. And that's what he's
Yes,
been
sir.
successful in doing, is make it multi-groove. So give him kudos to that. And again, the Schilling race, along with any other race they have over there, is an opportunity to check it out.
I'm really looking forward into coming into town this summer and going and taking a race in at Skyline. Last year was a pretty busy year up here, with family and stuff. So I made it to a race at West Virginia. I did come in to go to West Virginia, and I came in to watch the Keith Barker Memorial at Ohio Valley Speedway. That's always a really good race. Of course, I absolutely love Ohio Valley Speedway. Just I think it's not just nostalgia for me. I just think Ohio Valley Speedway is a very, very good racetrack. Just like West Virginia, it was another track that I grew up attending. That was a really cool deal. Speaking of racetracks that have been around for a while, are you excited about Pennsboro? That's something that I've been wanting to ask you about. What's your honest thoughts on that?
So take it back to the day when I ran late model. I raced Pennsboro in a late model, and I sucked. Uh, the track was always hard and slick. I was never a slick track racer. I always had used tires. I was using Balzanos and Schaefer's used 55s or 35s because, why was we going to spend money on new tires when we knew we wasn't going to be good? But we had to be there. We raced there several times in late model. It was magical in those days. In that era, it was a magical place. I won't say that they won't make it magical, but it'll be a different kind of magic if they do get it going. I was a little bit excited about a smaller track, to be honest. I got a little bit excited about that, but then I think when they realized the way they built it and the size of it, it wasn't as big as they thought it was going to be. They scratched that idea, and now they're going to the big track. So in 2001, they had a race under the lights at Pennsboro Speedway in 2001. I was in a modified then. Corey Conley won the late models, and we won the modifieds. And it was bad fast under the lights. It was wet, moist. I actually passed for the lead on the high side of 1 and 2. And you don't do that at Pennsboro. It's always, you stuck it right down against that bridge on the inside and go. But so I got mixed emotions. I don't know what to expect. Rigs are so much bigger now. I'm thinking about late models. I'm not thinking about modifieds, but late models coming in, rigs are so much bigger. They've got the mini wedge track on the back chute back there, so that's taking up parking. They can't park there. I guess I'll just have to wait and see what transpires. I'm not knocking them yet for trying, but I'm just sitting by waiting to see. I don't know what to expect.
I'm pretty excited to see what Barry Braun and those guys, they've had their hands in a lot of, I would say, mega races. And if there's anybody that's willing to, I feel, bring that back to, former glory, I believe him and his crew will do a great job. It's definitely nostalgic for me. I can't say that I've seen a whole lot of good races at Pennsboro growing up as a kid, mainly because I was a kid. I was more focused on playing with my Matchbox cars in the dirt than I was, the quality of racing. But I did get to watch a little bit of racing as I got older there before it shut down. And, like you said, it was usually, it was kind of locked down. So I think I'm excited to see, what they're going to do. I seen some internet fodder that they were going to try to widen it out a little bit. I'm with you. I guess we're going to have to kind of wait and see. But I do know I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm not going to bash them. If they're willing to do it, give it a try, and we'll see what comes out of it, and then we'll make our decisions in. But yeah, I don't have any. In other words, I'm not eagerly waiting to get out there. But if they build it, we'll see what happens.
We talk about the older days, the older race tracks. With how much the race cars have advanced, what do you think is the biggest difference from the days when you started racing opposed to now? Like, what do you think the biggest difference is? Is it the motors, aerodynamics? What do you think the biggest difference is?
Money. Money's a huge difference. I've always said, people's asked me about different classes and whatnot, and it all costs the same, because as a racer, you spend what you have. You can't spend no more than that. You spend what you have. So whether you have a late model, 4-cylinder, street stock, modified, sport mod, it doesn't matter. You're going to spend what you have. But it's the bought-in technology that's out there today that puts a lot of guys who can't do that behind the times. And I think of Bud and Marshall Dahl. Those guys did it themselves, from the engine to the chassis to everything. And they did it right there in their garage. And they outsmarted a lot of guys and had good drivers. They had Bobby Joe Adams, Earl Hill, Butch McGill. So they had good drivers in their car.
Absolute legends.
Yep, no doubt. And so I think the fact that technology's out there now and has come in, and people who can buy that technology, you look at Freddie and Tyler and Chris, they busted their humps building their own stuff. But I think they've had to sway out a little bit and get a little bit of that technology and then come back to their garage and keep doing it on their own. So they've been successful doing it on their own. And there's times that they shine and other times they lack a little bit. So on a consistent basis, technology is there for those who can afford it, and they're going to shine most all the time. So that's the toughest thing for me. I've not kept up with it in my years of racing. I've relied on other people to feed me information here and there, and I try and adapt to it. But my driving style typically hurt the technology side of things too, because I've been a balls to the walls kind of driver. And I did that basically because when I started out with junk, you had to manhandle the cars and try and get as much out of them as you can. Well, then when you get better cars, I don't want to say manhandling them, but I'm still driving them hard as I can. So I struggled at times. But when I got in a Shaw car in 2009 or 10 with Junior Nolan, who helped me get in a Shaw car, or he put me in one actually, my slick track racing improved a bunch. And then, so I've got slick track racing down a little better now, and I've been more successful in slick. But I still like balls to the walls kind of racing. That's just my style.
Going into this year, how are you feeling? Besides old, are you excited to begin your 40th season? And realistically, how long do you plan on racing? Like, do you see an end in sight?
First, with the about this year, excited for this year. I'm extremely excited for this year. I got to take the car down to High Valley, and for practice there a week or so ago. They had the track perfect for practice. It wasn't rough. It wasn't too wet. It wasn't too slick. I thought it was great shape. They did a great job. So I'm looking forward to racing there. Mother Nature's not being very kind to us, but we're hoping to get out soon. So I'm really excited about that. As far as how long do I intend to do it? People ask me, when do I expect to, I guess I look old enough to retire. So people ask me, are you going to retire in a year or two? And I just say death is my retirement. And that's really how I feel about racing. Death will be my retirement from racing. Now, in saying that, as I said, I drive for Rob Webb. Rob and Leanne Webb are outstanding, super. They treat me great. They provide me an opportunity that not many people get. In saying that, where I'm at today in my life, and with the financial situation of racing, how much it costs, if Rob and Leanne ever come to me and say, Kenny, we're going to have to shut down the operation and sell out, I'm going to shake their hand. Thank you very much. And then financially for me, I just can't jump back into it the way I used to do it because of the cost of things now. I mean, when you get cars that cost anywhere from 35,000 to 55,000 without an engine or tires and wheels, it's just too much for me. And if there's opportunity to drive, I'm still going to drive. I'll work on them. I love coming to the garage, working on them when I can, and racing them. So that part is I'm still have a passion for, but the financial part I don't have a passion for anymore. So if Rob decides to quit, I'm out. If he doesn't, and other people, want to put me in one, if he does, then I'm still going at it. So that's where I'm at with it.
Well, Kenny, as always, I truly love getting to talk to you. Obviously, I've known you for a better part of my life, and I've looked up to you for a long time. There's been some spots in my life that weren't exact bright spots, and you were somebody that I could always depend to talk to. And, I've always been really appreciative of that friendship. So, this right here has been an absolute honor for me. I truly want to thank you for coming on and talking with me. I just want to wish you the best of luck. I would love to see you go out and win 20 races. Now, I'm sure you'd like to like to do the same thing, but I want to let you know how much it means, to me to have you on here.
Well, just to clarify, I want to win them all, not just 20. I want to win them all. So that's one thing. The other thing is we've all had dark places, and some of those dark places none of us are proud of. But at the same time, you've made it past those dark places, and you're in a good place now. And I told you the other day, I'm proud of you, and appreciate what you're doing for Dirt Behind the Scenes. To me, that's promoting racing, and that's what I'm about too. I love promoting racing, and it's a good sport to be in. It's a legal drug. I like to get kids engaged and involved in it. I don't like the kids that get in it and outrun me, but that's what happens. So anyway, I do appreciate you, and I love the sport, and anxious to see what this year brings us.
Well, Kenny, good luck to you. Hopefully, Mother Nature cooperates and you guys get to go to the valley. I'm going to try to make it in, but if I don't, I just want to wish you the best of luck. And, I hope you have a great season.
Hey, appreciate you, Derek.